My friend, when the Eagles used their fourth-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, selection number 111 overall, to select a defensive tackle out of Nebraska with an exceptional athletic profile, the expectation was clear. Fill the void left by Milton Williams with a young player capable of developing alongside Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. 13 months after that selection, the picture that emerged from mandatory minicamp is concerning. This defensive tackle was not on the second team during team drills. He was on the third team. And on the third team of the 2026 Eagles, you find a player who is still learning the basics of professional football. That depth chart comparison says more about this young defensive tackle's situation than any statistical breakdown ever could. Before I explain everything that is happening and what this minicamp means for this player's future with the Eagles, drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because this story is a perfect example of the level of demand that Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia organization maintain even with recently drafted players. Let's get into it. This defensive tackle's name is Ty Robinson, 6 feet 5 inches, 288 pounds, 25 years old, selected in the 4th round of the 2025 NFL Draft with the 111th pick. At Nebraska, Robinson had a breakout season in 2024, recording 7 sacks and 12 tackles for loss, leading the team in both categories. His RAS, the composite athleticism score calculated from combine testing, came in at 9.89 out of a maximum of 10, which placed him among the 24 best defensive tackles drafted since 1987. NFL Network analyst Daniel Jeremiah ranked Robinson as the 103rd best available player in the entire draft class. On paper, Robinson was exactly the type of player Roseman loves to find in the 4th round. Strong athleticism, genuine college production, and developmental upside. That profile is what made this pick exciting in April of 2025. And even before the 2025 season began, there were reasons for optimism. Jalen Carter, the Eagles' best defensive tackle, praised Robinson during OTAs in terms you rarely hear from a veteran about a 4th-round rookie. Carter's quote was direct and enthusiastic, but what happened next did not match that early enthusiasm. Robinson played in 11 games during the 2025 regular season, but struggled consistently to create leverage and failed to generate efficient penetration against opposing offensive linemen. Across the entire season, he recorded just 5 career professional tackles. For a 4th-round defensive tackle coming off 7 sacks in his final college season, those numbers represent an objective disappointment. What made Robinson's rookie season even harder to evaluate was the context surrounding his limited opportunities. The Eagles' defensive line was never going to hand playing time to an unproven rookie when the starters were healthy and dominant. But the moments Robinson did get, whether in garbage time, in preseason, or when Carter was briefly sidelined with an injury, he did not seize them with the urgency the situation demanded. Defensive coordinator Vic Fangio's assessment after Robinson's first meaningful snaps was measured at best, describing the performance as fine for a first significant opportunity without offering anything approaching genuine enthusiasm. In a system as demanding as Fangio's, fine is rarely enough to move up a depth chart. It is barely enough to stay on one. To fully understand the scale of the problem Robinson faces now, you need to understand what the Eagles' defensive line represents in 2026. This franchise built what may be the best defensive tackle trio in the NFL. Jalen Carter is one of the premier interior linemen in the league, a Pro Bowl selection, a second-team All-Pro. Jordan Davis is a player north of 240 pounds who can dominate the interior of the defensive line with raw power. Moro Ojomo completed his evolution as the third piece of that puzzle, and showed over the past 2 seasons that he belongs in that rotation. This is the foundation of Vic Fangio's defensive scheme, and it is completely consolidated. But Robinson's problem goes well beyond those 3 starters. Byron Young, in his 5th year in the league and developing with consistency, earned a second-team spot during minicamp. That means even in the battle for the 4th position on the depth chart, Robinson is behind Young, and there are still Gabe Hall, Taquan Graham, and rookie Uar Bernard, whom the organization clearly intends to develop and keep on the roster to protect him from the waiver wire. The parallel that Jeff Kerr of Sports Illustrated drew between Bernard and Jordan Mailata is powerful and deserves attention. 8 years ago, the Eagles bet on keeping Mailata on the roster during his learning season, paying a short-term cost to collect long-term dividends. Mailata became an elite tackle. The Eagles believe Bernard has the same type of ceiling, and they are going to use a roster spot to protect him. just as they did with the Australian offensive lineman. And this is where the logic becomes impossible for Robinson to escape. NFL teams do not carry two developmental players at the same interior position simultaneously, and the reason is simple. It is a waste of roster capital that cannot be justified in a league where every spot on a 53-man roster has a competitive cost. Carrying one project player at defensive tackle means you are investing in the future while accepting a short-term sacrifice. Carrying two means you are doubling that sacrifice with no proportional return, because neither player gets the developmental reps and attention they need when they are competing against each other for snaps that barely exist in the first place. The Eagles made this calculation clearly when they decided to protect Bernard. That decision, by itself, effectively closed the door on Robinson occupying a similar developmental role. He cannot be a project. He needs to be a contributor. And right now, he is neither. That means Robinson is not only competing against Byron Young for the fourth defensive tackle spot. He is competing against the strategic decision to reserve a roster spot for Bernard's development, against Gabe Hall, who has already proven he belongs on any NFL roster, and against Taquan Graham, who is also in that mix. And all of this after a minicamp where Robinson could not even crack the second team, finishing drills alongside a player who is still in the earliest stages of adapting to the professional game. The question Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office must answer before training camp begins is this: how much time and how many chances do you give a fourth-round pick who has not shown consistent development after year one? The franchise's historical track record on this point is revealing. Sharif Miller, a fourth-round pick in 2019, was cut after just one season, precisely after demonstrating ineffectiveness during his rookie campaign. Kayvon Wallace, a fourth-round pick in 2020, received 3 seasons before being released. Zech McPherson, a fourth-round pick in 2021, made it to the start of his 3rd season before landing on injured reserve and being waived in January. The Eagles' pattern with fourth-round picks is clear. This franchise carries no sentimental obligation toward mid-round selections. If the player is not developing, the organization moves on. There is also the variable of Jalen Carter's contract extension being negotiated in parallel. The news that Carter participated in a limited capacity during minicamp, possibly tied to extension negotiations that could completely reshape the Eagles' cap space, adds a layer of uncertainty to the entire defensive line's positioning. If Carter signs a long and expensive extension, the pressure to keep the line lean and efficient within the budget increases even further. And a fourth-round pick who did not produce in year 1 and is sitting on the 3rd team at the start of year 2 does not fit that financial calculation in any favorable way. The only thing that can save Ty Robinson is training camp. It is that simple. He needs to show up in July with a completely different level of play from what he demonstrated in 2025, needs to prove that the leverage and penetration issues have been corrected, and needs to compete directly against Byron Young and Gabe Hall in a way that forces the Eagles to recognize that cutting him would be a mistake. Is that possible? Absolutely. Players improve dramatically between their first and second years, especially defensive linemen who need time to adapt strength and technique to the NFL level. But minicamp gave no indication that this transformation has already begun. With the Eagles building what may be the best defensive tackle group in the league in 2026, with a roster spot reserved for Uar Bernard's development, and with the franchise's established history of not hesitating to release fourth-round picks who fail to develop, do you think Ty Robinson is going to surprise everyone in training camp and secure his spot on Philadelphia's 53-man roster? Or was minicamp the clearest signal, yet that his time with the Eagles may be running out? Drop your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.